Got it. Close. Okay. Am I on mute? No, that shows that I'm muting. Okay. Yeah, Film Vault. The Film Vault. We are not really the Film Vault. We don't know what the name is yet, but welcome to what we are technically calling Talking the Film Vault, or um what else might we call it? We might call it the Film Vault Chapter 2, the Film Vault the sequel. We have no idea. No names yet. Maybe I will insert a name later. But I am here with an incredibly special guest. You may know her as Miss Movies 3.0, but apparently we aren't allowed to call her that for some reason. There's been some ruffling of feathers, but I am here with the one and only Florence Bruemmer. Hi, Florence.
Hi, Mitch. How are you?
I am great. I am recovering from a cold. It's been 3 weeks, so I'll just say to the listeners, apologies if you know, if I sound kind of crappy, but I will hopefully get there. And I should bring up my notes that I have because I have questions for you as you being Miss Movies 3.0. I have questions.
Sure, I can hopefully provide answers.
Oh, I have burning questions. I've never met Anderson or Brian, and you have met both.
Yes,
How are they as people? Let's just start with that. It's like when you want to know how an actress is like behind closed doors, are they really nice?
they're really nice. They are exactly as they appear on the show. There's not a different persona to them. They're just great. They've been so kind to me, and I've been so grateful for that. They've invited me in, I've been invited into Brian's home and recorded with
Yeah.
them. I ran into Brian very weirdly. I ran into him in January at Disneyland. And
Oh
like the
yeah.
craziest thing ever, because I live in Arizona.
Yeah.
So what am I doing at Disneyland? It's like my once a year trip or once every other year trip. And there he is, and we took pictures together and we texted them to Anderson. And then the funny thing was, on my way, like I was flying back to Arizona and I get a text from Anderson that Brian has COVID. So
Oh.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I remember all that. Yeah. And
right.
now we're dealing. I don't know when this episode will come out. I think we're hoping for I'm gonna bank them and hoping for a January release. But so and right now they're dealing obviously with Brian's sickness.
I know.
Last I heard he's recovering. I emailed Anderson, but he's on vacation. I emailed Brian and I got a thanks pal back. I didn't want to obviously bug him, but yeah.
Yeah, I felt the
Um
same way. I haven't reached out to Brian because I'm like, he's got too much on his plate. Anderson
yeah,
is just the nicest person in the world and
he
has
is.
been so good to me. We'll chat by text sometimes, email. I'll just send him
Hmm.
random thoughts about a movie
Me
and
too.
he always responds. And he's super busy. Like he's got a life and
Yeah.
he's just
Yeah.
always so great. Like they are as great as you can imagine.
I mean, I'm gonna say I obviously knew that because I have both their numbers. They've been so good to me and so nice to me, and I love them both. Um, and I've texted Anderson random things just on a whim. I can't remember what it was the one time, but I always get a funny response back. Um, and one of your things kind of leads me into my next question
Sure.
is when you are doing your Miss Movie duties, like how long travel time? I'm Canadian. I don't really get the states. I know they're in Los Angeles, you're in Arizona. What's the travel time like when you do go to Brian's house?
It is an hour flight to, sometimes I'll fly into LAX if I do the show. Last time I flew into
Wow.
Burbank because I was at Halloween Horror Nights in Universal. So it was easier to do Burbank. So the flight's an hour. And then Brian is very close to LAX, like maybe 30 minutes ish.
Okay.
And I've stayed he's sort of by UCLA, and I've like stayed in that
Yeah.
area. And
Can we
last
get his
year I stayed
exact
in
address on air?
Madison.
Um, so okay, I didn't realize you flew there. So
Yeah.
I'm a green Canadian. I'm dumb. Like, I'm can be dumb. But so oh man, I have it on top of my head. So you basically, when you know you're going to the area, you're like, hey guys, I'm gonna be in the area. Do you want me to do some segments?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Or do you fly in specifically for the show?
Both actually. So the first time that I went, a bit of history was I won an auction for Laughs with Bald O'Brien, where you could
Oh
bid
yeah.
on being a co-host for the Film Vault. And I was on my phone, like bidding like crazy, like to the very last minute. And I luckily won the bid. So it was a
Mhm.
donation to can't remember if it was Fuck Cancer or what it was, but one of the cancer charities.
Yeah.
And then so I flew out February 2020. Okay. Like around
Oh
Valentine's Day.
yeah.
And I said to Brian, there was someone on the plane coughing like crazy. I probably have COVID. And that was a month before the shutdowns. And that was a joke because there was
Yeah.
COVID stuff.
Everyone at that time
Yes,
was,
exactly. Right, exactly. It was in China. It wasn't hitting us. It was
oh,
jokey. And
we laughed about it.
yes, exactly. And that to me was always kind of my like line in the sand for like travel and good times because
Mhm.
3 or 4 weeks later, that's when all the COVID shutdowns happened. And so I stayed
Mhm.
in touch with the guys, and while there was COVID and the guys weren't together, I did a couple of red light, green lights, I think virtually. And then when we could get back together, I flew out, and I flew out in June, actually for the Corolla family barbecue, not
Oh
Adam's
yeah.
family, but his family.
Anderson didn't go to that, right?
He did not go to it. Mm-mm.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. Brian was there, and I saw Brian. And then the next day I was at Brian's house and we recorded a show. And then this Halloween, I usually go to Halloween Horror Nights at Universal. And because everyone knows I love horror. And I called
Really?
Anderson. Really? Is that true, Florence? I called Anderson and I said, I'll be out in October, and does it work? And one of the weeks he was potentially traveling, and it was Atticus's birthday. So that one didn't work. And so it worked the week of Halloween, that Sunday, Monday before. And I recorded them with them on Monday. And that was female horror characters. So yeah, that's how it
Yes.
works. I either go or we do virtual. I just did a virtual with Anderson week or two ago to kind of fill in the gaps for when
Mhm.
Brian's gone.
Yeah, I think that might be the one, excuse me. I think that might be the one we get this week, tomorrow as we speak, but again, we don't know when this episode's going to air.
Mhm.
Um, that's so interesting. I completely forgot that you were the one that won the Last Rebel,
Mhm.
Brian, essentially creating Miss Movies 3.0.
I know
Wow, it's
Brian has a problem with Miss Movies 3.0, I think. And I go, well, call me something different. I said, I don't want to
yeah,
step on Brienne's toes. I don't want to step on Diana's toes. They're the
yeah.
OGs to all this. And I signed my cards to my nieces and nephews, Aunt Florence, like Beyonce.
Beyonce.
So I said, you can call me that. Or one time the guys, they were talking about me on the show and they called me Grandma Horror because I'm a grandmother.
Oh my God.
I always laughed about that. You've called me Horror Queen. I would take that one too.
I do. I do. I always ask, I beg on my knees to be your horror king because I am
Oh, you
obsessed
are.
with, oh, thanks. Thanks, my love. I am obsessed with horror. I'm working on a list of my top horror of 2022. So, what would maybe top the list of your top Like, what would be on the top for horror this year or 2022?
Sure. Bodies, bodies, bodies. I really enjoyed, like,
Me
classic
too.
slasher and a ton of fun, and an
Mm-hmm.
ending that put the biggest smile on my face
Me
ever.
too. Me
X
too.
and Pearl, of course. I mean,
Of
companion
course.
films, those were wonderful. I even enjoyed Smile quite a bit.
Me.
It
Oh
was a
yeah.
little derivative, but I thought the scares were great. And I thought Sosie Bacon, like, really
Oh,
leaned into her part. Like, so I had a
she
really
could have.
good time with that movie.
I think she could have been nominated for an Oscar. Like her performance was great. I hope we see her a lot more.
I know.
Like she was great.
I had never seen her in a movie before.
Me neither.
And the whole
Me
time I
neither.
kept thinking, she's familiar looking, but it was just because she
Yeah.
looked so much like Kevin Bacon.
Wait, is that her daughter?
Yeah. It's Kevin Bacon and Kira Sedgwick's daughter.
No
Mhm.
flippin' way.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, okay. It's crazy how many like kids of stars are coming out of the woodwork right now. Like Ethan Hawke's daughter's on Stranger Things
Right.
and
Philip Seymour
David.
Hoffman's son in Licorice Pizza, I thought was excellent.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. And Denzel's son,
Oh,
isn't that John David Washington? Or
gosh, that one I don't know. I don't know.
maybe I'm being a little racist, but I thought it was John David Washington. I thought that was Denzel's son. Anyways,
Maybe.
so
Michael
what?
Gandolfini, James Gandolfini's son. He is someone I've really
Yes,
enjoyed.
exactly. And you know what? If it's like Anderson says, if it's nepotism that works, perfect.
Sure,
Um,
exactly.
yeah. So the two more questions,
Hmm.
actually three more questions, if you don't mind.
Of
I don't know how
course.
long I have you for.
You have me for as long
I
as you like. I told my family, I
okay.
said, I'm doing something very important. So give me some time.
Aw, thank you. Um, so just the one question I wanted to ask, and I don't know, this is probably a stupid question, but give us a behind the scenes look on how you make your red light, green lights. Like how you go about it, your research.
Sure. Um, so I'm always reading, and sometimes I'll just come across an article. And
Mm-hmm.
I still read the paper magazines. I still love them. And one of my
Mm-hmm.
saddest things is that Entertainment Weekly isn't a print publication anymore. I read that from the day that it went into
Me
print.
too. Well,
Yeah.
not into print, but I had just subscribed a couple years before they ended it, and I was like so frustrated because I love getting the ones of movies you love and then you keep them, right? Like I love
Yes.
this movie, it's on the cover, I'm gonna keep this.
Mhm.
But oh
I
well.
subscribed from the issue number one in the 90s and kept
Wow.
with it, I think 25 years. It was forever. So if I find an article of an interesting movie that someone's doing, I'll clip it out and put it to the side. Otherwise, I go on IMDb, and also do just general Google searches of movies in production and
Yep.
pre-production. And then what I have been doing, which I think everybody knows who listens, I'll come up with a fake movie, which is
Yes.
my own creation.
I will admit to you, hated it at first. I was like, what is this? Love it now. I absolutely adore it because now it's fun for us as the listener to be like, okay, wait, this might be the fake one.
Uh-huh.
And then sometimes I've like guessed and I'm like, no, this is definitely too real. And I usually get it right. Oh, it is a lot of fun. At first I was like, and I'm so happy you've put your own spin on it. So that is
Thanks.
amazing.
I appreciate that.
Oh, that's cool. And then I think you probably covered it on the film vault, but what are your like five top favorite movies?
Ever? Oh gosh, that's
Just a
hard.
just a couple. Like,
Yeah, Goodfellas is one of my all-time
yeah.
favorites. The Ring, the original
Mm,
Nightmare on Elm Street, um, The
yeah.
Godfather,
Yeah. Good
those are
for
some of my
you.
favorites. Some Like It Hot, one of my all-time favorites.
And I was gonna say, well, like I was about to say, well, what's your guilty pleasure? But that is our topic
It
today.
is. I'll keep
Um,
those as a surprise.
exactly, me too. Um, so the one last question, what have you seen recently and what did you think about it?
I saw the menu on Thanksgiving Day.
Oh yeah, and your thoughts?
I really liked it. I had no notion really of what it was about. The
Me neither.
only thing that I saw was a photograph of Ray Fiennes as a chef standing next to Anna Taylor-Joy. That's
Mhm.
all I knew. And I knew like semi-horror
Wow.
thriller, like that's all.
Mhm.
But it was, I cooked all day Thanksgiving. I had 30 people at my house. And then I looked at my oldest daughter afterwards after cleanup and I said, why don't we go to the movies? And it was the most relaxed I felt all day. And so I really leaned into this movie because I was just like in such a good place in my heart too. I really liked it.
Wow.
It had a lot of surprises. At the end, had a ton of comedy.
Mhm.
And then saw
Mhm.
that it was an Adam McKay produced movie. And I was like,
Oh, I
oh,
didn't
that
notice
makes a lot
that.
of sense. Yeah. It said Will
Uh,
Ferrell too, which I didn't think they were teamed up on anything more, but maybe that was a movie that was filmed quite some time ago.
Maybe it was they did it separately because yeah, I've heard they're butting heads right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really loved it as well. What did you, no spoilers, but what did you think about the ending?
Oh, I loved it. I
Okay,
like
cool.
I was kind of delighted by it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'll just say this. Recently in my life, we've had a lot of jokes about marshmallows. So when there was a marshmallow theme at the end, like it really cracked us up.
Yeah.
That was kind of my own personal spin on it, but I thought it was clever in a silly way.
Mm-hmm.
And it did kind of like it went from like the most tense thriller and then like just went into like broad comedy in a way.
Yeah.
And I liked it. It was
It
unexpected.
okay. And then I could talk about the menu forever with you, but it's nice to actually have someone to talk to who's seen it. Two things. How great were the film's critics played by like Janet McTeer and Paul Adelstein?
Oh, I
Like,
loved it. I had missed her since Ozark and I was happy to see her in something else.
oh, so I'm guessing like she's not on Ozark anymore. I've never seen it, but
Just that Ozark's over. So that's
oh,
all.
okay.
Yeah, Ozark's over. So
I got you. I haven't watched a single episode, but I'm not a huge TV guy, a lot like Brian, so I don't watch a lot unless it has Marvel in the title, which that's my nerdy side.
huh,
Um and then so did the one more thing about the menu.
sure.
Did the why of it all bother you? Like
No,
why?
no.
Okay. It bothers my friend because he is like, there should have been more. He's like, I didn't understand why they were doing everything. And that final scene, I'm not gonna say anymore, but with Anya Taylor-Joy, where I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not even gonna describe it, but that whole sequence, I will think about that for the rest of my life. And just and I have an idea of what it all meant and everything, and I loved it. I
I
loved
did
it.
too. I thought it was it made sense to me how Rafe Fiennes acted towards her at that
Mm-hmm.
moment.
Mm-hmm.
I thought was perfectly acceptable. Like I had no problem
Almost
with that.
heartwarming.
Yeah, exactly. And it went
Yeah.
back to that. This doesn't spoil anything, but when she saw the kiss the cook picture and he was beaming, it was a picture from like when he was in his
Yes.
20s and he just had that apron on and
And the burger, yeah.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh,
And that was his
we
joy.
might be getting into spoiler
I know.
territory, but whatever. I'm
Fast forward 10 seconds.
okay. Yeah. We say after to tell them to
Right.
fast forward 10 seconds. Oh my God. We are the worst versions of Anderson and Brian. No, I'm just kidding.
We're trying.
Okay. So, um, did I rush through that? I am new to hosting, but
I think you're doing a great
uh
job. I'm having a great time.
thank you. Okay, I'm having a great time. It's like when you have dinner guests over and you're not sure if it's going well. Oh no, we're having a great time. Thank you. So, we are going to do it exactly the way Anderson and Brian do it. We are
Sure.
going to get into our top five this week with my wonderful special guest, Florence Bruemmer. I'm saying it right, Bremer.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. So, yeah, so we are going to do our guilty pleasures. I always let my guest, they get to pick a topic that Brian and Anderson have done in the past. Any topic they've done, we are unearthing it and doing it ourselves just for fun, and maybe get a different opinion on their list. I don't have their lists yet, but I'm going to start including them as like at the end, saying this excuse me, this is what their list was like back then. So who wants to go first? I'll let my guest go first. Number
Okay.
five.
Thank you. Number
Oh,
5. Mm,
wait.
sure.
How did you, I know it's probably an easy answer, but how did you go about your list?
It was really just pulling movies from my heart. This one was an easy one. It wasn't
It
one of
was an easy
this,
one.
yeah, like where I think one of the topics I did for Anderson and Brian that was my own topic was movies where a scene would be considered an assault today. I actually
Yes.
kind of did a lot of research on that. I pulled them from my memory, but then went back and like really watched the scenes again to see if it was as I remembered.
Yeah.
So for this one, I remembered when the guys did the show, my mind was racing with my guilty pleasure movies.
Mm-hmm.
And a guilty pleasure to me is a movie that if you're flipping channels, which I don't have cable anymore, so I don't know why I'm kind of using this example, but if
I
I'm,
know, but we all do.
yeah, if I'm flipping channels and I see it, I will put it on that movie. Or if I walk
Yeah.
into the room and my daughters are watching it, I'm going to sit down and probably watch at least half an hour of it. It's going to pull me out of whatever I'm doing. And that to me is a guilty pleasure.
I already know one on your list.
You do?
I do. Yep, I 100% do. I'm gonna write it in my phone, and
Okay.
at the end, oh my God, can I not say the word end? At the end, I will show you. Okay?
Okay.
All right, I'm doing it right now. Done. Okay.
All right. Well, this is a fun little surprise.
Yes. So, on the internet, guilty pleasure is described as something such as a movie, television program, or piece of music that one enjoys despite feeling that it is not generally held in high regard.
Yes.
So
Those are all
that's
my
kind of how I want to. Yeah, me too. So I have a long list of also rans. Obviously,
Oh, me too.
the one thing I was going to say when you were talking about the top five things that would be regarded as sexual assault today, I was
Mhm.
watching Coal Miner's Daughter last night. Have you ever seen that?
Yes, I have. I saw it at the
Rape
movie. That's
scene.
how old I am.
1980, so like you must have been a newborn.
Oh, I was like 8.
So yeah, there's a rape scene, like a pretty um that was probably not considered a rape scene back then,
It's with
but kind of
her
maybe.
husband, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right? So back then it might have been like, so it's Loretta Lynn and Tommy Lee Jones' character,
Mhm.
and yeah, they get married, and the wedding night he basically forces himself upon on her. And I was like, I immediately thought of you. That sounds
Uh-huh.
wrong, but I immediately thought of that. I
I'm following
immediately
you.
thought of that topic. Yeah, okay. So your fifth guilty pleasure.
Sure. My number 5 is High School Musical. It's a 2000 American musical television film from Disney, and it stars Zac Efron, Vanessa Hudgens, Ashley Tisdale, Lucas Grabel,
Hmm.
directed by Kenny Ortega. And these songs to me are on point. In the songs Breaking Free, Stick to the Status Quo, Get Your Head in the Game,
I'm
Start
breaking
Something
free.
New. I mean, how can you not love these songs? We're all in this together. I'm sort of
We're all in
embarrassed.
this.
See, I'm sort of embarrassed to say, like embarrassed, not embarrassed, that there have
Yeah.
been parties at my house recently where there has been a lot of singing and dancing to the High School Musical songs. So High School Musicals
No,
number 5.
good for you. And I don't want to date you, but those were coming out when I was in like my early teens. And my brothers were into them, not really, but they were like, I have all brothers, so they were kind of watching them and into them. And yeah, I they're they're entertaining and the
Mm-hmm.
music is good. I mean, you can't, if the songs are catchy and good, you can't dismiss them. And if they hit you at the right time in life, then
Exactly. And
yeah.
I was way old. I mean, I was probably my 30s, but my kids were watching it. And all of
Yeah.
a sudden, I'm like sitting there watching it and singing and dancing. Like, it's a movie that we put on kind of a lot.
Good. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so my number 5, okay, but just gonna say, what's funny? If Brian ever brought up High School Musical on the program, Anderson would never hear the end of it. So that's hilarious. On this show now, we can openly talk about anything we want without Anderson yelling at us.
Yes.
Um, so my number 5 is Legion. Have you seen Legion
I don't
with
think so. You
Paul
have to tell me
Bettany?
about it. Mm-mm.
So Paul Bettany plays Michael the Archangel, and he has fallen from heaven. He's been banished from heaven, and he cuts his wings off, and he is sent to Earth to warn the people that God has forsaken all of mankind, and he is basically wiping them out. And Michael has come to Earth to try to stop this plague, and it is cheesy, but so fun. It's got like 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's got Paul Bettany, Dennis Quaid, Tyrese Gibson, Adrian Palicki, Kevin Durand, Kate Walsh, and um, who's the other person in it? Charles Dutton. So it's a lot of fun. I think you would like it. I really do.
All right.
And
I'm
Paul
gonna check
Bettany's
it out.
great.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, I don't know where it's streaming. I'll check on your next turn there. But
Okay.
then as I was researching today, they actually did a follow-up sci-fi um television show. I didn't even realize it came out like a few years ago. They did like one season follow-up to it. So I must not be the only one who liked it.
Right, exactly. Huh. Okay.
I was hoping you'd have seen it.
I know. I'm sorry. I'll have to check it out for sure.
It's a little bit horror. Well, it's actually there's some scary moments. Like you just watch the trailer. There's a part with an old lady. Like it could have been on top 5 scary old biddies. I think they
Huh.
did. But yeah, she
All right.
literally like there's a scene at the beginning. She literally looks up at this pregnant woman and she says, um, "You and your baby are gonna die." And it's like, yeah, it haunts me. But
Okay. I
so
have to
you're
see
number
this movie
4.
immediately. All
You
right. My
do, you
number
do.
4 is House Bunny. It's a 2008 comedy film directed by Fred Wolf. It stars Anna Faris, Colin Hanks, Emma Stone, Rumor Willis, Catherine McPhee,
Hmm.
Kat Dennings. And Anna Faris is a former Playboy bunny who signs up to be the house mother of very, very unpopular girls in a sorority, and the girls are nerds
Mm-hmm.
and or outcasts. The girls are funny. Anna Faris is just adorable. At a restaurant, she orders the mahi mahi, but she says, "I'll just take a mahi because I'm not that hungry." I love this movie.
I that genuinely made me laugh. I it's funny, you're 2 for 2 with movies I haven't seen, and I thought I would have seen your entire list.
I knew I was
But
going
The
to
House
surprise you on
Bunny,
my guilty pleasures. I knew it.
I thought there would be more horror already,
Mhm.
but are any of the rest horror?
I'm not going to say yet.
Okay, all right, all right.
Surprise.
Um, all right, all right, all right.
I bet I
So
know what movie you think that you picked, and I don't think you're right. So before, when we get
it's
to
not
that point,
horror.
it's not horror?
No,
Oh,
I didn't. No, I know. Something twisted in my brain, and I remembered. I had a bubble of memory from an episode you did, and you were talking about this movie. I'm not going to say any more, but and it's not horror.
I'm very intrigued. Okay. All right.
You
I'm
think
ready.
you think I'm thinking you think I'm thinking Spiral.
No, I'm not. That's not what I was thinking.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll talk about that in the end. This is getting way meta. Um, but the House Bunny is actually kind of getting a resurgence. I've actually seen it on TikTok a little bit and some scenes, so it's made me want to reach out and watch it.
Oh, you should.
Um,
Did you ever see Legally Blonde?
yeah.
So it's
Yes.
like kind of like that, but more silly even, and just
Hmm.
really fun. And it's Anna Faris in her prime. She's
Hmm.
wonderful and scary movie, but there's just something about her
Yes.
funny that she just really like pulls at your heartstrings and makes you laugh.
I Comedies get such a hard rap, and they get dismissed so easily. You know what? I look now and I have no comedies on my list, but there are several. Like The Girl Next Door could have been on my list.
Sure.
Like there's so many comedies from like my childhood and later that could have been on my list, but
Adam Sandler movies are like tons of
Adam
my.
Sandler movies.
Mhm.
I love Click. I mean, I love Click. So if someone wants to beat me for that, they can try.
No, I love that movie. That movie's a
So okay, good. So my number 4, and this one is a little embarrassing. So let me just clear my apologies. This is a 3-week cold that will not go away, so I have cleared my throat. So I will just give you. I'm going to give you the IMDb description. French nuclear tests irradiate an iguana into a giant monster that heads off to New York City. The American military must chase the monster across the city to stop it before it reproduces. And that is Godzilla from
Godzilla.
1998. Yes, I unabashedly love this movie. It probably holds a nostalgia factor too, but I mean Hank Azaria, Jean Reno, Matthew Broderick,
Mhm.
um, and Kevin Dunn. I had a huge crush on the lead actress from that, Maria Patillo. I haven't seen her in anything, but I like that was like a young crush for me. Um, and I just love this movie. Godzilla ends up reproducing. There's eggs, there's mini Godzillas running around. I love the design of the Godzilla. I love Matthew Broderick. The whole movie was just gold for me. And people, I think it really upset Godzilla fans who wanted a Godzilla movie in America that was really good. You know,
Mhm.
America's making a Godzilla movie. Well, they better do it right. And then in their eyes, they didn't. But to us non-Godzilla fans, um, I don't know. Maybe some of us enjoyed it. Have you seen it?
Yes, I did. I saw it in the movies back in the 90s, and it is my favorite Godzilla film.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, the newer ones are kind of forgettable.
They
Like
are.
they're beautiful to look at, but I find them kind of like I can't really tell you what happened in any of them. I
Hmm.
know they fought. I know Bobby Brown was in one,
Bryan
and
Cranston was in one.
yeah, and I love Vera Farmiga, and she was in one. But other than that, I
Yeah, I
don't know.
know. I know. When Godzilla
Oh
came out
wow.
in the 90s, it was an event movie. Like I remember being in a theater in
Mm-hmm.
Chicago and every single seat was filled.
Mm-hmm.
And that just doesn't
And
happen anymore.
no, unless it's got Marvel attached to the name. But
Right.
I remember the McDonald's merchandise and the all the toys. It was, you're right, it was an event movie. Um, so let's move on to
Okay,
your number
sure.
four. No, your number three.
So this one, nobody likes it, but I love this movie. It's Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2. It's the sequel to Blair Witch, the original Blair Witch. I hate the original Blair Witch. It's just a gimmick to me and it doesn't hold up. But I love, love, love this movie. It's directed by Joel Berlinger. It's five young people who go into the woods based on that they are fans of the Blair Witch movie, the original movie, and Jeffrey Donovan, who's really the only one who, I mean, the other ones like did a lot of, if you look up their IMDb, they did a lot of TV and stuff afterwards. Jeffrey Donovan has just done a ton of everything. He's their tour guide.
Yeah,
And he, I saw some of the other ones in like Sex and the City as, yeah, as like, just small characters, or the Sopranos, like small, very, very small characters, but really good acting. And it's three girls and two guys who go into the woods together. Jeffrey Donovan sells Blair Witch merchandise over the internet, and it's a lot of sticks and rocks that he sells. So it pokes fun at the original movie. It I was so amazed by how much I love this movie that I watched the director's commentary, and he talked about how the studio made him go back
really.
and intercut like just random like stabbing scenes to make it more gory, and it was really like kind of out of place. And they also shot
Wow.
scenes after it was all done of Jeffrey Donovan in a mental institution that were also cut throughout the movie. And those were kind of fine, but you did notice that they were weird. And I would have liked to see the
Yeah.
movie flow a little bit better. And I was so curious about a year ago to see if there were other fans out there of this movie that I just started searching around the internet, and there was lots of people who actually liked it. Like I couldn't even believe it. Like I think it's like a 2 on Rotten Tomatoes or a 0. It's like crazy low. And I rewatch it every couple of years to make sure that I'm not crazy and that this movie holds up. I think it does. It's one of my all-time favorite guilty pleasures.
Well, as you can see, I just added it to my watch list.
All right, awesome.
I have not seen it. What's that?
You're going to have to tell me what you think of it. I think the ending is fabulous. I think they stick the landing on the end. And so please let me know what you think when you watch it.
Okay, so and I'm also in line with you because I'm not a fan of the first one, the original Blair Witch. So they did the remake of the Blair Witch, and I said, well, it's about time I watched the original. So I sat down and I watched it, and I'm like, I don't get the hype. But and then I watched the remake. It was, I don't even remember it, but um, yeah. So
It was
I skip,
forgettable. The remake was
yeah,
forgettable.
yeah. So I skipped the sequel. So I'll go back and watch it now. That's really interesting.
It's the
And
best out of the three by far. That's
wow.
my opinion.
Well, and I'm looking at it on Letterboxd, and that's what I use a lot. And it has a 1.9 out of 5 stars. So that means there are 290 people that have given it a 5-star review.
Okay.
I mean, that says something.
Yeah.
Almost 300 people think it's a 5-star movie. So uh, you're not alone.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Because I hate
Um,
that movie's kind of forgotten about. It's like the first one, and then you just skip to the remake, and they're just not that fun.
okay, well, if I like it, we'll bring it back. Well, you know what? Maybe I'll shill out the money and make Anderson and Brian watch it if I like it.
All right, sounds good.
So my number three. Oh wait, before we go to my number three, we should do the Amazon read. No, I'm kidding. I'm
Oh,
totally
okay. I
joking.
got super excited for you for a
Could
second.
you imagine? And there's nothing because we are not sponsored by anyone. So my number three, and I don't know if you're gonna hate this or love this, but I'm sure you've seen it. It is 2004's Van Helsing.
I've seen
You've
it.
seen it. You've seen it. So it is Hugh Jackman and Kate Beckinsale. This role probably got her the role of I don't know her name, but in Underworld. And David Wenham from Lord of the Rings, who I loved, and not a lot of other people who are known. Robbie Coltrane is in it, rest in peace. But yeah. So it's Van Helsing. I think a lot of people expected more. And while we're on the subject of Van Helsing, I also loved League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I liked that as a kid too. Did you see
I
that?
don't know if I ever saw League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I did see Van Helsing and really liked it. I
Yeah.
thought
Oh, you
it
did?
was, yeah, I thought it was a much better, um, a much better depiction of some of the old horror
Hmm.
movie characters than say, I mean, this one's so obvious, but like Tom Cruise's The Mummy, for instance.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was enjoyable.
Yeah, I just think the CGI was really good for its time. I found it really enjoyable, and I found all the depictions of the monsters were really fun and interesting, like Dracula, and then Dracula's three brides and Frankenstein and Igor, and the way they just included it all was a lot of fun for me, and it is a guilty pleasure. And if it came on the TV, like we said, flipping through cable, I would immediately have to sit down and watch it. But it's probably really bad, but I really love it. And um I think it gets more hate. But
It
it's a
does.
6. Yeah, it's a 6 out of 10 on IMDb. So
That's pretty
that's
good for IMDb.
yeah. Yeah. So okay, is this your number 2 already?
My number two.
Okay. All right.
All right. Spice World, starring the Spice Girls, directed by Bob Spears. It's from 1997. It's an hour and a half. I could have watched a 10-hour version of this movie.
Now,
And
were you a Spice Girls fan before the movie came out?
yes,
Okay.
I love
Okay.
this. As soon as the Spice Girls videos started appearing, I loved them. And my girls at that time were really little, and I would always play them the videos and play them the songs. And we just always loved the Spice Girls. And it's very oh, like these girls are just very sassy. And so you have like a lot of sass in it, and you have a
Yeah.
lot of fun jokes, and they're chased by the paparazzi. So you have that going on. They're also like subjects of a documentary that's being filmed by Alan Cumming. And it just has Roger Moore is in this movie as kind of like
No way.
yeah, it's sort of like a Charlie from Charlie's Angels. It's sort of. And then throughout the movie, they'll just have, times when they'll just start singing or their songs will play in the background, and they have their outfits, and they're just cute, cute, cute. And I don't
Yeah.
care where I am. If I hear this movie playing in my house, I'm probably going to come running to sit down and watch it.
So you have a very young mind.
Oh,
Like
thanks.
you are just so young at heart. Like so like and I don't want I don't want to age you, but like you were, well, I mean, you're still so young, but I mean, like you were like ahead of the times. Like you, when new things came out or come out, you are so ready to accept them. Like not like, when new music comes out, my dad is immediately like, it's crap, it's bullshit. I
Uh-huh.
don't want to, like, it's gross. But I just love to hear that. Like, so when did Spice World come out?
It came out, I think, in 99, 97,
99, 97.
97.
So I was 7 years old. Okay. And I remember it. I watched it probably when I was like 8 or 9 because I had a neighbor who was obsessed with the Spice Girls. And even my brother had stickers of the wall on the wall of them. And yeah, I think they were great for me as a young male to see strong, beautiful women um doing whatever they want and making money. And yeah, and I love Alan Cumming, and I think that movie solidified my love for him going forward. So yeah,
Oh, good. I'm glad you like
that's
it.
very interesting. Yeah, I do like that one. I'd have to rewatch it. I remember the tour bus, I remember the paparazzi, I remember Alan Cumming and the girls, and that's basically it.
Mhm.
um but yeah. So my number two is a movie that I assigned to Anderson and Brian, and they both generally disliked it, which is fine. I get it. I probably shouldn't have signed it. I have assigned it because it's not for them, but Alien versus Predator
Mhm.
is my guilty pleasure from 2004. It stars basically no one except for Lance Henriksen. Is kind of he is he's Wayland, like the Wayland Utani company, so he is Wayland. And I'm a huge Alien nerd. Yeah, that's my favorite movie is Alien.
Uh-huh.
But I actually like this movie. And I remember when I assigned it to Brian and Anderson, they I remember when I assigned it to Brian and Anderson, they were very negative on it. And I got a lot of feedback saying, "Oh my God, Brian Anderson, how could you hate that movie? It's so much fun. It's so much fun." So there's a lot of people on board with me, but I can see how people think it's bad. I really enjoyed it. The
I
sequel is
yeah.
trash.
Uh-huh. I didn't even know there was a sequel to it. I thought that was a fun movie too. It came out kind of around the same time as Freddy versus Jason, which is
Oh,
another guilty pleasure for me.
I've
It,
never seen that.
oh no, oh, see it immediately.
Yeah.
It has the fight scenes are what that movie is for, and it has a
Okay.
really cool start to it. It gets like pretty goofy, and the
Hmm.
main actress is a terrible actress. But it just has something super fun about it, so I recommend it. And it kind of to me, it always went hand in hand with Alien versus Predator.
Yeah, like Alien versus Predator is it takes itself too seriously, but it's still fun. And seeing them, yeah, I had a lot of fun. And seeing like the human kind of team up with the Predator, and it kind of gave you a better idea of the Predator. It's funny, like I'm so deep into the Alien and Predator lore that I know that in the Predator world, Alien versus Predator is canon, and in the Alien world, Alien versus Predator is not canon.
Oh,
So yeah. So anyways, I could geek out on I should do my own podcast about Alien and Predator.
you should.
So anyways, I really should. So anyways, oh my God, are we at your number one?
You're at my number one.
Okay, you haven't said my guess yet. So unless this is it.
Okay, you ready for me to say it?
Mm-hmm.
Death becomes
Mm-hmm. Nope.
her.
I was wrong.
What did you? I'll talk about Death Becomes Her, but tell me what the movie was that you thought.
Bring It On.
Oh, you know what? That was in my also rans. Here's how I did my list. I just kept doing a list, and Bring It
Mm-hmm.
On was in it. I was up to about 20 movies.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, it was, I've said this before on the show, on the Film Vault, when I was doing favorite female horror characters, that it's easier to pick my
Mm-hmm.
children than it is to pick these movies sometimes. And so, yeah, Bring It On was definitely in the list.
I
But
remember you saying you watch it with your girls and you love it. So, and
mm,
it just came to me and I thought, but oh well, I lost.
no, that was a super good guess. I love the movie Death Becomes Her. It's a 1992 American comedy directed and produced by Robert Zemeckis. It stars Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn, Bruce Willis, Isabella Rossellini. It's funny and spooky. It starts off with Meryl Streep in this horrible Broadway show that is based on Sweet Bird of Youth, and people are walking out. And then there's a great party scene at the end where there's Elvis, Jim Morrison, Marilyn Monroe, and it's really about the cost of staying young forever. And I really like Meryl Streep in comedies, and I'm maybe one of the only people in the
Me too.
world who liked her in the movie She Devil with Roseanne Barr. But Death Becomes Her is my number one guilty pleasure.
I can totally see it. I've only seen the first half an hour. And then something happened and I never went back to it. So
Oh,
I
really?
will. Yeah, I'm not a huge on horror comedy. It always kind of I don't know, my brain can't seem to comprehend it if it's like really broad comedy in horror and then there's
Okay.
horror elements but I think that movie is making a comeback. Like a lot of people are still talking about it, and I think it's had a resurgence. Especially like people love Meryl Streep, so they go back and watch their movies, her movies, and they get to that one, they're like, "Wow, this is a lot of fun." And then they see the critic reviews, and they're like, "What? Why
Oh,
did people
yeah.
ever hate this movie?"
It's
So
unfairly bashed. It had some of the most um like when CGI was first starting, and that was like a big
yeah,
draw for it. Like that's what they were saying. And the CGI now is doesn't look like super great, but it
yeah,
still is so much fun. Bruce Willis is great. The
yeah,
ending is super hilarious. It's more comedy than horror. It's a black
yeah,
comedy for sure, but it
yeah. There's
does
dark
have,
moments.
yeah, it just have like those just like couple of moments where it's like really brings in the horror, and I love this movie.
Yeah. Okay, so you didn't go your whole list without ignoring
No, I
horror.
didn't. Mm-mm.
So at least you had a little bit of horror on there. Um so yeah, I there's a lot of heads that get come off in Death Becomes Her,
Mm-hmm.
from what I remember. I need to finish sit down and finish it. But so my number one, and a lot of like I you don't talk to a movie lover who likes this movie.
Mm-hmm.
If they are if they are a movie critic or a movie fan, they don't like this movie, but I love it. It what year? Sorry, just quickly. 2004. Um 15 year old me probably sat down to watch it and I was like I it meant a lot. It worked for me. But 2004's Crash, the best picture winner that everybody hates,
Mm-hmm. I don't hate it.
starring no,
I don't hate that movie.
s- starring Don Cheadle, Sandra Bullock. Oh, I can't remember how to say her name, but it's Thandie
Newton?
Thandie Newton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, her first name, she pronounces it differently now. She just changed her name, and I don't remember. But Tony Danza, Keith David, Loretta Devine, Matt Dillon, Jennifer Esposito, and then Brendan Fraser's in it.
Mhm.
William Fichtner. It's got a great cast, obviously, and for a young growing boy, 15 years old, I probably just watched it for the first time on DVD, and then I remember watching the Oscars, and it won. And then the backlash over the years, I didn't see Brokeback Mountain until a lot of years later, and that's what people say should have won. And
Mhm.
I think Brokeback Mountain's great, but I love Crash, so I was very happy. But it's to me, it's a beautiful story, and the way it
It's done
intertwines
really
is,
well.
yeah, and the acting is incredible by a lot of actors who don't get enough credit for their work. Yeah,
It was
I
one
thought
of
it was
my
great. So,
favorite Sandra Bullock performances because
oh,
when
because yeah,
it was
sorry.
like not her, it like she
Hmm.
was into her character. She wasn't Sandra Bullock, the movie star, which it like she usually
Yeah,
is, even like in Bird Box,
yeah,
and she
yeah,
was just really that woman in that movie. I love it.
yeah. Yeah, okay, good. I know Anderson and Brian don't, but it's a comfort movie in a way. There's some sad stuff in there, but there's also some really heartwarming storylines. And yeah, Sandra Bullock's character storyline. Um, all I'll say is she has a fall at one point, and it really broke my heart. And then there's a police car scene that broke my heart, and then there's a scene on the sidewalk that broke my heart. And racism is something that is I really detest and really hate. So just this movie kind of formed me and helped me understand racism a little bit more at that age.
Mhm.
And I could see critics saying like, "Oh, it's overdone. They're tooting their own horn. Like we get it. But this is I think a beautiful movie." But
I know I'll be
oh
saying her
well.
name wrong again, but the Thandie Newton and Matt Dillon,
Hmm.
their first scenes together, and then later
Yeah.
what happens and how you
Yeah.
feel, and you see on her face every thought that is going through her head,
Ugh.
and it's just it,
I almost forgot about that.
yeah. I think about that scene quite a bit. Just it really
Me too.
touched me. And I can still
Oh,
to this day picture her face and all the range of emotions that she went through.
she should have she should have been Oscar nominated too, because that was Sandra Bullock's first Oscar nomination for that role. And it was really interesting because she only had like 8 minutes of screen time
Uh-huh.
total. Um, but yeah, so I'm sure there's going to be lots of people saying laughing at us, but yeah, I love that movie. So
You like what you
let
like.
them laugh. You like what you like. Um, so yeah, so I guess that's it. Let's can you do a quick rundown for us
Sure. So
of your list?
yeah. And then afterwards, can I do my also rans?
Yep, for sure.
So number 5 for me was High School Musical. 4 was House Bunny. 3 was Book of
Mhm.
Shadows, Blair Witch 2. Number 2 was Spice World, and number 1 was Death Becomes Her. And my also rans included The Hot Chick, Cat in the Hat, Bring It On, Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, How the Grinch
Mhm.
Stole Christmas,
Mhm.
Flashdance, Bedazzled, All the Pitch Perfects, Clueless, The Newest Vacation, Intentions, Josie and the Pussycats, The Devil Wears Prada, Scary Movie 3, and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Oh my God, I can get on board with all of those. And Scary Movie 3 is my favorite scary movie.
Yes. Yes. It's the best
It
one.
is the funniest one. There are lines I still quote from that movie to this day. And the scene The scene with the cop getting in the cop car and her hat keeps getting bigger still makes me laugh to this day. So, no, that's a great list. And two movies on there. If anybody thinks that The Grinch Who Stole Christmas and Devil Wears Prada is a bad movie, they need to get their brain checked. Those
I
are two
know.
amazing movies. So,
Hmm.
but I have definitely heard some hate for The Grinch, and Cat in the Hat was fun too. Oh God, I could go over your whole list. I'll stop. So my guilty pleasure list almost made it on the list was Follow That Bird, but most people probably don't know that movie. It's a Sesame Street movie. Muppets from Space, The Lost World, Jurassic Park 3, all the Final Destination movies, Dodgeball, Les Mis, all the Hatchet movies. Have you seen any of the
I
Hatchet
haven't seen
movies?
any of the Hatchet movies. No.
Okay, so it's Victor Crowley, okay, is the main guy, and it's very gory, a little cheesy. It's pretty cheesy and silly, but if you are down for that one night, you need to watch. I think there's four of them now. They're all good,
Okay.
in my
All
opinion.
right. I will check
Okay.
them out.
Um, Country Strong, the animated movie Home, The Core, Vertical Limit, Deep Blue Sea, Daylight, National Treasure 1 and 2. I'm almost done. The Village. I love that movie. Don't care what anyone says. The Day After Tomorrow, The Family Stone, and Batman and Robin.
I just watched again The Day After Tomorrow. I pull that one out every so often. I think like some of the
It's great.
scenes when they're in the library and some of the stuff that
Yep.
happens around the city. I am always down for a city getting destroyed.
Oh,
Like,
I'll watch any movie. I'll watch any post-apocalyptic movie. Give it to me
yeah, I was
anytime.
so
Anytime.
disappointed with Moonfall because I thought
Me
it was going
too.
to be the moon destroying everything. And I was so excited
Hmm.
about that. And it was so lame and cheesy. So, yeah, I'll watch any city get destroyed.
Is that no?
And Armageddon, like, it could be another one
Yeah.
on the list.
Is Moonfall the one with Gerard Butler? No, Greenland. Have you seen Greenland?
I started watching it and never went back to it. And it's
It's good.
always
It is
okay.
good.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw Moonfall at the movies because I don't know. I have this thing about the moon. Like I love a full moon. And I thought,
Yeah, me too.
movie
Who
with the
doesn't?
moon, like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm like a movie with the moon and cities getting destroyed, like I'm in, and it was super lame. Holly Berry was in it. It was terrible.
I only remember Halle Berry. I watched it at home. And did you just say you love watching cities you live in get destroyed?
No, just any cities get destroyed.
Okay. I thought you said "Oh, there's a city I live in getting destroyed." You probably get to see Arizona represented in movies more than I get to see Ontario get represented in movies. But
Oh,
anyways,
maybe a little bit, but not really. I mean, I think Bus Stop, Marilyn Monroe's movie from the 50s was filmed here. I think a lot of
is that
maybe Empire
um
Strikes Back was filmed in the desert.
what
Bus
about
Stop,
No Country for Old Men?
um,
Was that it?
I can't
Or that
remember.
might have been Mexico.
Yeah, it could have been.
I
Um,
don't know.
there was a scene from I think it was the first Transformers with Mark Wahlberg that was filmed. They down a highway near my house
Oh, yeah.
and filmed like it. And in the movie, it's like a 10-minute scene, but I definitely recognize
Mm.
the area. And I remember when they were filming it, there's not a whole lot that gets filmed out here
No.
in Arizona.
No.
Raising Arizona.
Um Yeah, well, has to be. So Guillermo del Toro's We Have a Psych Hospital that's been closed down just a few streets over from me. And so Del Toro, he filmed that movie Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Uh-huh. Sure. I saw that. Mhm.
Yeah, he filmed all the scenes that happen in a mental hospital there,
Oh,
and an overhead shot, and that is the actual city I live in. So it was really
really?
interesting. But yeah,
Very
yeah.
cool.
So I went to the theater and I made sure I saw it in the theater and gave it its money, right? Just to support my town. So,
Well, I
but
saw
that
it
was
at
a
the
good movie.
theater too, so hopefully I supported it as well.
Perfect. Perfect. So I guess I will let you go. I just want to thank you so much for your time. And of course, where can people find you?
You can just go to my website, brummerlaw.com. It has any information about me. And my podcast is the Bonafide Legal Podcast.
Yes, I looked both those up this week. I mean, I've listened to your podcast before, but I looked them up because I wanted to make sure I had them in the brain. Um, but yeah, so check out Florence Bruemmer. She has been so courteous with her time, especially since she's a lawyer. And the time I've spent with her has probably would have cost me what, $400 or $500. Um,
Yeah.
so I thank
I
you
feel
very
hourly like a
much.
prostitute.
Well, we didn't have to get a hotel room. So, anyways, I thank you so much. You can find me at the Hollywood Persona on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm on Twitter at Mitchy Daily and Letterboxd at Mitchy Daily. Thank you so much for listening to our new show. I will have more guests on, and I cannot wait. But of course, we had to have the Florence Bremer as our first guest. So thank you all for
Wow, thank
listening.
you.
And
I feel so
oh,
privileged.
thank you. You are amazing. All right. Bye,
Okay,
Florence.
wonderful. Bye.